This is Long Shots, VSiN's premier golf betting podcast. Here's Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds, and Kelley Bidlin.
It is Long Shots, golf betting podcast here on the VSiN Podcast Network. I am Matt Brown. That is Wes Reynolds. That is Kelley Bidlin. And we are going to run through each and every way that you can bet this thing, how we might be betting it, how we are betting it, and some additional thoughts as we head into the Ryder Cup. And guys, as we took the little bit of a break, Wes, you and I hopped on real quick to do the tune-up event, in which, by the way, Scotty Scheffler just went and casually won it. So, like, to practice for the Ryder Cup, he just went and made $1.1 million just to practice for the Ryder Cup, and so
just another Sunday.
Great. Yeah,
absolutely. Poor Ben Griffin left the putt just on the wrong side on 18 and didn't go ahead and force a playoff. And then we also had the BMW PGA Championship won by Alex Noren. So you're like, oh man, Alex Noren gearing up for the Ryder Cup. Well, he's gearing up as a vice captain because he is not actually on the team, but has played tremendous golf since returning to the DP late in the summer. So everybody geared up this week. Everybody's all accounted for on the grounds of Bethpage Black and have been out there practicing. By the way, the opening ceremony gets moved to tomorrow because there is rain on Thursday. However, they don't get to announce the pairings on Friday before the live crowd. So that'll be done in its usual time on Thursday afternoon. So everybody's there. I just saw a picture come across of the Ryder Cup Gala, and everybody's dressed to the nines for that. So we're well underway with festivities at Bethpage Black this week.
Everybody that is everyone's a usual video viewer of this, I will go ahead and apologize in advance. This is redoing the home studio. I'm not in a cave or a prison or a whatever or anything. I know it's like blink twice if you're okay. I look sickly. The coloring is off. All of the different things happening here. We will be fixed the next time you see me on camera. I know Kelley was like, dude, you look purple and now you look kind of weird. Like if I really wish we would have had like the discussion live on the podcast where Kelley's like, you look weird now. Like you got to do something about all of this. So sorry about that in advance. But what you can do is the easy way to remember to come in and let me know just how weird I look is to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And then they'll be reminded every single time that we come on just how weird I look or how weird I sound. So go ahead and do that. Appreciate all the support for you people out there that like all of this. Okay. Let's start out real quick here, Kelley. We'll start with the odds and we'll get to the teams and we'll get to all the different things like that. But just as we sit right now, it's about minus 150 in favor of the USA. It's about plus 170 for Europe. The tie is sitting at 10-1. If you want just to lift the trophy, USA's minus 150, Europe plus 120 there in that one. This is over at DraftKings anyway. And so, Kelley, a while back, we were, giving kind of our first impressions here of what we thought about the odds and what we thought. And, I was the first to say, yeah, I think the bet is to be on Europe at the current numbers and all of that. And the more, I don't know where you guys are at, the more that I look at the teams and the more that I kind of see the form of everyone and the more that I've come around on the US squad a little bit. Where are you?
Man, I would say nothing much has changed for me. It's always been lean Europe. I think it's pretty coin flippy. And this is, welcome to Match Play Golf and the Ryder Cup. And this is going to be very different for us talking golf and odds as we usually do every week on this podcast. I do think it's very coin flippy, though, between these two teams. And seeing this Europe number only go up, I did finally bet it this afternoon. It was hold off. I think at most shops, look, at Circa was able to get plus 180. We talk all the time about, hey, not everybody's got access to Circa. You don't get, you're not going to always get those same numbers that we do. I think if you're looking at Europe like I am, though, you guys tell me if you think I'm wrong. I just don't think there's any reason to rush, right? Like in these stateside legal books, like this is going to be all USA money, I would think, leading up to the event. So the odds might not move. They might not move much, but like, I don't really know if there's any rush to go bet Europe unless you're seeing a plus 180 like at a Circa and you want to go scoop it out like I did.
Yeah, no, I'm with the same assessment here. And it's all going to depend, too, on that first Friday session. I think we're going to know very early if the Americans are live to win this thing. if you go out, number one, don't get swept like you did in Rome last time. But if you don't go out and at least get a split in that first session, I think that there's trouble. And that's where the European team has been, I think, the strongest, is in that foursomes, which is alternate shot. And we'll explain the format of this a little bit more momentarily. But that's where they've had it. And there's a lot more continuity on that side. And I know we'll get into that and who the guys are going to be paired with than there is on the American side. So there's a lot more work, I think, for Keegan Bradley as USA captain to put the right combinations together early. Crowd's going to be at a fever pitch. Crowd's going to be obviously pro USA, as you would think it would be. So it's going to be loud. It's in New York at Bethpage. So, it is definitely a home course advantage here. But I want to see how they start in that early session, because they have gotten behind the 8-ball so many times and just have never been able to dig out, no matter how well they play in Sunday singles.
If those of you that are watching over on the YouTube channel, you saw Kelley just pulled up the graphic. I will go ahead for the podcast listeners. Scotty Scheffler, JJ Spawn, Xander Schauffele, Russell Henley, Harris English, and Bryson DeChambeau are your automatic qualifiers over on the U.S. side. Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Cam Young, Patrick Cantlay, and Sam Burns, the 6 captains picks there by Keegan Bradley. Over on the European side, Rory McIlroy, Bob McIntyre, Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Tyrrell Hatton, and Rasmus Højgaard are your automatic qualifiers. Over on the captains pick side, John Rahm, Victor Hovland, Ludwig Oberg, Shane Lowry, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Sepp Straka. So those are the 6 captains picks for Luke Donald over on that side of everything. I think there's no question, right? I mean, anyone that knows golf, the best player in the world and the best player in the world by a large margin is on the U.S. side. So like the best player resides on the U.S. side. We could now start to nitpick where the advantages and disadvantages come from a baseline and upside thing with these teams as well. And so, Wes, as we've broken down these tournaments, over the course of the last year, JJ Spawn kind of came out of nowhere, but became a really consistent performer on tour. Russell Henley, really consistent performer on tour. We know Bryson has shown up in majors and done well over on the live side of things. Now, Xander, certainly the injury to start the season was not great for him. And so he had kind of an up and down year. And then Harris English, I think I think we're probably like neither here nor there on him. But if you look at those automatic qualifiers, and I understand like maybe not the flashiest of names outside of Xander, Scotty, and Bryson, but all very, very solid players and all dudes that show up more weeks than they don't.
And a lot of them, and a couple of them actually, are rookies, JJ Spawn and Russell Henley, but they're not maybe your typical young, like, 22-year-old rookie like the Europeans have. The one rookie with Rasmus Højgaard, who takes the place of his twin brother Nikolai this time around. So, a lot of times it gets overwhelming for those guys, but these guys are a little bit more veteran players. And then you go to the captain's pick, Ben Griffin, Cameron Young. Like these are not really young, super young 20-somethings that are just out on the tour that have made this. Like these guys have been consistent players and consistent grinders. So I don't think necessarily they're going to be fishes out of water, and they can't be with the European team that returns 11 of the 12 from Rome. The only switch is the Højgaard switch, like the Bella Twin switch in WWE, where they one goes in the ring, one goes out, so you don't know which one is legal. But that's basically what they have with the Højgaards. But look, a lot of experience on this European side. I think a lot of continuity. There's a reason why Luke Donald was brought back as captain, by the way, the first time since Bernard Gallagher back in 1993 that you had a returning European captain. And then on the U.S. side, you have the youngest captain since Arnold Palmer in 1963, where he was a player captain. Keegan Bradley certainly had the opportunity to do that, but elected not to. So this guy, he's young, still has got good golf in him, 39 years of age. Usually you get an older guy, a lifetime achievement award to be a captain of one of these sides, but not necessarily so with Keegan Bradley.
Kelley, if we look at the captain's picks in Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Cam Young, Patrick Cantlay, and Sam Burns, you have multi-time winner. Then you get the kind of the first, the the first time winner there in Cam Young, that really the form came along towards the end of the season. So maybe he can ride that form into the Ryder Cup here. Ben Griffin, one of the more consistent players on tour all season long for them. Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, Sam Burns. We know what their upside is. We've seen them win tournaments before. We've seen them go out and take down the best and biggest fields that you can possibly go up against. But we've also seen a lot of downside with all four of those guys as well. And so I think that is the volatility here from the captain's picks on the American side, is just, look, if you get even the B+ game of Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa and Patrick Cantlay and Sam Burns, I think the American team's better. I honestly do, like top to bottom. If you get that, but the problem is we've seen a lot of C. We've seen a lot of C performances from these guys, right? I mean, like, and with Colin, there's been a lot of C- and maybe even some D+ there with him and Cantlay over the course of the season too, and so. That is the big question mark here. You get solid play out of those four guys. I think the American team is better for sure. I do, top to bottom, but that is where I think the crux of this is going to be is those four guys that we know where they can go, but where will they be as we head into this week,
Yeah, no, I think it's completely fair. I think that group is probably what it pushes me over to the Europe side a little bit more. I don't trust the form that we've kind of seen from Thomas, Morikawa. I'll just go Thomas, Morikawa mainly. But then, Patrick Cantlay, if you saw the records I was putting up before, he's got some great match play records over time. That's awesome. I don't think Patrick Cantlay's necessarily had one of his better seasons either. So all three of those guys, I think there's major question marks. Sam Burns had a weird season, right? I think he looked awesome at times down the stretch of the season, but not a ton of consistency. You said it perfectly about Ben Griffin. Anybody who wants to talk about lack of experience, or maybe this guy doesn't deserve to be here, but deserve to have his name with the rest of these guys, he was captain consistency throughout the season. So I think he's positive. I think Cameron Young's positive. I think Cameron Young, the way he closed out the season, the way this course fits his game, I expect him to play very well for Team USA, and actually could be one of the turning points if they go on to win this. I think Cameron Young would be in that group. Where I think I'm wrong, Matt, is what you're talking about. If Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, and Colin Morikawa show up and show off the games that we've seen from them for so much of their career, yeah, I probably lose this bet. But I think when you go over to the European side and talk about who the guys that are going to matter are, so much, I think it's those same guys that are in the middle, right? What's Victor and Ludwig going to be able to do, right? If they're going to be able to go out there and play like some of the top end guys in the field, this is where I think Europe is able to separate themselves. Right now, I've got those guys rated higher.
That's where
Wes,
the continent. Go ahead.
Right.
Matt,
it's like you look. Yeah. It's like I was going to the captain's picks over on the European side, and you look at that, and it's kind of like Rahm, Hovland, Oberg, Lowry, Fitzpatrick. Sepp Straka is not in the same category as those five guys, but certainly a dude that we bet a ton, and certainly a guy that can reach where they can go. But I guess if you're talking like the ultimate upside, Rahm has been in the conversation as the best player in the world, like before. Yeah. I mean, like he has been in that conversation. Victor Hovland obviously has gone out and beaten and conquered the best players in the world as soon as, as late as last year. Ludwig, we've seen, I mean, Ludwig's the biggest enigma in golf to me. Like I don't know how he doesn't win every tournament because of the pure skill set, but like, yeah, I just don't, he's so crazy to me. Lowry and Fitzpatrick, right? Kind of that up and down season for those dudes, looked really like they were fixed at times and then broken at others. And Sepp Straka, a guy that we certainly bet a ton at the beginning of the year, and then he kind of tapered off over the course of the season. Maybe it was just, I don't know, maybe played too much. Maybe I don't know exactly what it was with him, but the captain's picks are certainly interesting on the European side.
Well, he had that. Wes, I'm gonna kick it over to you in a sec because I know you're trying to get in there. Sepp Straka had that withdrawal late in the season, right in the BMW, and it's like I don't know. Did we ever get the full story there? I don't really know what kind of headspace he's coming in. We love Sepp. We've all made money off that guy the past couple years, but I don't know where he's at right now, game wise.
They gave birth to a child prematurely. The baby is fine. Good news there. But that is why he withdrew. from the BMW championship there in Maryland, and then finished dead last in the Tour Championship down in Eastlake. So there was a little bit of a discussion as if, like, are we going to have to replace him, or is he going to make it here? Because he did not play at Wentworth. He was the only European not to play, just like Xander did not play on the PGA Tour because they just gave birth to a child. So that was the reason why you saw those players not particularly there. But going back into the conversation here, what you guys are saying, it's all about the early foursomes. And that's where I think that Luke Donald has less work to do, because he's got 3 teams out there that went unbeaten in row. He's not going to split up Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood. He's not going to split up Ludwig and Victor. He's not going to split up Rahm and Hatton. It's just like, which order do they send those guys out in? Where does Rahm and Hatton go first? Do you put Rory out first, or do you have him as the anchor with Tommy like you did last time out? The other team, by the way, was Sepp Straka, Shane Lowry, who split their matches. They were the only ones to lose a match. Europeans, by the way, went 7-1 in foursomes over there in Rome in 2023. So that's been their preferred format. We'll see what Luke Donald has to do. Meanwhile, Keegan Bradley, I think he knows, and I think we all know kind of like what 2 of the teams are going to be. Cantlay and Schauffele, despite the fact they lost both matches in Rome, are your best team. I think certainly your most experienced team together, and they're friends and have a rapport, obviously. And then I think we're going to see what we saw at the President's Cup. We're going to see Scotty with Russell Henley in the alternate shot in the foursomes. I think that is going to be a pair. They'll split them up in the 4 balls, but then it's like, okay, who do we put out then? Are we going to have to put out a rookie? Are we going to have to put out JJ Spawn with somebody? You know, who do we put with Justin Thomas, who's not in the greatest of form? But I think he's kind of a guy. Maybe he's like the Ian Poulter now for USA. Not as demonstrative with the crowd or anything, but a guy that he's playing like total shit when he comes in, and then all of a sudden he turns it on. I think we could see that out of Justin Thomas this week.
Kelley, I'm curious as to your thought on this. Like, I'm like not really as worried about the U.S. rookies, and mainly like Wes said, one, they're not really like young, they're not really like younger dudes. 2, JJ Spawn got put into 2 of the more pressure situations this year where he could have crumbled and did not crumble and went ahead and was able to get it done and all of that. Like, I don't know. I look at some of these dudes and just say, I get it. You haven't actually been there, but it's not like this is like a moment that is so much bigger than some of the other moments that they've been in, even over the course of this season.
I agree. That is, if you're watching at home, you just got career Ryder Cup. Okay, there's 4 guys on this team that haven't played, right? I'm not really worried about any of them. I expect Cameron Young to have a good event. I expect Russell Henley to have a good event, especially if we think he's going to be paired with Scheffler, once, maybe twice. And I think Spawn Griffin, man, whatever. People have been sleeping on him all year long. I think one of those guys probably shows up, at least one of them shows up and has a good Ryder Cup. For me, man, it's just going back to the mid-range guys. It is the Cantlays, the Morikawas, the Justin Thomases, and sorry, Harris English. I don't expect much from you. Maybe you show me up, but I don't expect much from you. So I think those are the guys I've got more questions about those guys.
All right, Wes, we've talked a lot about these teams now, but how do they get this done? So there's the format and the scoring to go over for the people that are not familiar with how the Ryder Cup goes down.
Yeah, I'll start with the format before I get into a little bit of the course. It is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and there are 8 total matches on Friday and Saturday. They start with the foursomes, which is the alternate shot, and then which is like Matt tees off and I take the second shot. And then Matt takes the third shot, I take the fourth shot. And then there's the 4 ball, which is known as best ball matches, where everybody plays their own ball. So that is something that you're going to see, some of the birdie makers, and maybe, some of the guys like in the alternate shot, you're playing the same ball. So there is a little bit of a difference there. And I actually was reading something about it, like with Kelley mentioned Ben Griffin. who's been a terrific player this year. Are we going to see him more in the 4-ball format, more than the foursomes, because he's the only one that plays with the max fly? So there's a little bit of something to that, and that's why I think you had Rom paired with Højgaard last time in the 4-ball. Because playing the same balls and the same flight and dynamics. I don't get too much into that, but I thought that was interesting nevertheless. So foursomes 4-ball Friday, Saturday same thing, foursomes 4-ball, and then the 12 singles matches. Everybody goes out on Sunday. And the home captain chooses the morning and the afternoon, but we are going with the foursomes like usually the Europeans like to do. So that is going to be the same. 28 points available, 1 point a match. So you got to have 14.5 to win the cup. 14 is that retains the trophy. If it's a tie, the team that has the cup keeps the cup. And in this case, that is Team Europe, and they're played to a maximum of 18 holes. No extra holes here necessarily. If the match is all square after 18, it is half. So each team or each side gets half a point. So that's the format here. And then I'll just go ahead and go into the course here, if you don't mind. Bethpage Black. Of course, we're very familiar with this. It's hosted the U.S. Open twice. It hosted the PGA Championship in 2019. It is playing as a par 70 this week, obviously. Not necessarily worried about the overall score like you would be for tournament play. 73.52, so pretty darn long course. The home side, by the way, in every single Ryder Cup does decide how it's set up. So what have we seen traditionally? We've seen the Europeans, they've had the narrow fairways and the thicker rough to kind of mitigate the power edge off the tee that the Americans typically have. Meanwhile, Team USA likes to go a little more birdie friendly, wider fairways, less penalty hazards, and that's how it is this time around. I know Paul McGinley, the former European Ryder Cup winning captain, was talking about he walked the course a couple weeks ago and says that these are soft fairways. So, these got some run out here. So that certainly is designed to help the Americans. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is the greens, because historically, the narrative has been about how the Europeans like those slow-ass greens where they're 10 or 10.5 on the stent meter, but you predominantly see those on like the links courses and not necessarily the rest of the schedule. And the Americans like the faster greens, which they're going to get this week, 12.5 to 13 on the stent. These are bent POA greens, by the way. But Billy Horschel actually had a really good insight on his X account today, where he's talked about how he's been watching the Ryder Cup coverage the last couple of days. And the old adage of faster green speed is an advantage for the Americans does my head in, as he says. Yes, back 20 plus years ago it was, but nowadays the majority of the Europeans obviously play in America, and they're playing, the PGA Tour schedule essentially all year. And there's a lot more DP World Tour tournaments, by the way, that have better courses and faster greens. They're not these old school link setups necessarily. So he said that old adage doesn't hold any water anymore, and I think he's absolutely right. So I think the greens advantage is not as much for the Americans. I think that the wider setup plays a little bit more to them off the tee, but in terms of the putting, I think that's a net zero for this event.
Yeah, it is super interesting with the course layout, and then also kind of how these dudes have come in off the tee, right? So you could look at any of these guys out, on the American side for sure. Justin Thomas, Sam Burns. We've seen some bad driving performances from Cam Young. We've seen a couple as well from Xander. So the wider fairways, the wider, more open track certainly can help them stay a little bit more in the fairway. Also, the interesting thing about the alternate shot format, which is, Kelley, you get a guy like Sam Burns, who is by far the best putter in this whole in this whole thing, and one of the very best putters in the world. But the problem is if you wanted to have him take the first shot at the putt, he would have to tee off, right? And it's like, that's where the problem lies, right? Like, so it's like, okay, he would tee off, then someone would hit the approach, then Sam would be able to try to make the birdie putt. But you can't have him going off the tee, most likely. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, listen, it's been a while since we've seen, maybe he's fixed the stuff off the tee and he feels super comfortable with all of that. But like, there's strategy that goes involved with that too, right? Because you really want him taking the shot at the moneymaker putt, but that also means he has to be the dude that's going off the tee.
So I think what Matt just laid out is I don't know about these two. We haven't really talked about it. I have two bets before this thing gets going, but I this is an event that you take it one day at a time. And what did you tell me, Wes? We're going to get 4:00 Eastern on Thursday is when they're expected
that's
to
when they're
announce
going to
pairings?
announce it. Yeah, because they usually have the ceremony where all the players and their wives and they're all dressed up. And Luke Donald spoke Italian last year in Rome, or 2 years ago in Rome, and that's when you knew it was over. It's like they're going to kill Team USA here, and they ended up doing it. Honestly, that was a sign, but that's when the people, spectators are there, and it's like. First match, John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton against Scotty Sheffield Russell. Yeah! And the home crowd all cheers and sings along. So, unfortunately, we're not getting that portion of it tomorrow. But Keegan Bradley, Luke Donald, from what they said, the PGA of America, who governs the U.S. side for the Ryder Cup, said undisclosed location. So, I have no idea, but we're getting the pairings about 4:00 Eastern time on Thursday.
So I think perfect example what Matt just laid out. Like you've got to think through things like that, and then you go start betting these team prices right for each round. I think there are some interesting. I mean, DraftKings of course has a million markets up. Like I do think there are some interesting, pre-tournament bets to make. I made one other. I'm going to float by you guys. I think the point scoring markets are interesting. Like over under, 2 points, 1.5 points for each one of these golfers. Is there anybody, because I think this is the single thing, if you're betting some of these player-specific markets before we tee off, I think the most important question we can start with is asking yourself how many sessions these guys do, right? And that is just, you're betting Ryder Cup, that matters more than anything, right? If you're betting some of these player-specific markets, you want to know or have a pretty good idea how much these guys are playing, right? So this is... I'll throw it out to you guys. Do we think there's anybody? I'll go anybody USA or Europe that's playing 5 sessions.
On the USA side, I would say Scotty. You're the number one player in the world, and he's got kind of a mixed bag. And to be fair, he's only played 2 Ryder Cups, but 2, and 3 overall. We know he's won the match play before, so he's excellent in match play. But it's different winning a match play event in Austin at the Austin Country Club than in the Ryder Cup, with everything surrounding it. So Scotty is going to have to, there's pressure on Scotty. You're playing 5 matches. It's like, brother, you better get 4 points, at least of those 5.
He only played 4 in Rome, right? He only played 4 sessions in Rome. So worth pointing out. I think it's different. I think you got to play them all 5. But Matt, I don't know what you think. He's the only American that I think is probably locked into 5.
Unless he tells them for some reason he doesn't want to, or that whatever. Yeah. I mean, how do you not? I mean, it's like we said to start the podcast. He's not just the best player in the world. He's the best player in the world by a long shot. It's not even close. It is like he is in a tier all of his own. And so, unless he is having a talk with Keegan as we speak, saying yeah, man, I don't really know about rolling out. I cannot imagine a scenario which you would not.
One other American I say could have a shot at 5, based on the fact that he's got the best record. I think he ultimately plays 4, but Patrick Cantlay actually has a very damn good record in the Ryder and the President's Cup, best on the team. So he could be getting hot here, and I'll mention him a little bit later on something I bet. The ultimate decision for Keegan on the U.S. side is Bryson DeChambeau. What do you do with Bryson DeChambeau here? Because he's played 2 foursome matches in the Ryder Cup. Now, he's paired with Phil once and Tiger once, and lost both of those matches when they were not near their best. And they hit it all over the place, just like Bryson can hit it all over the place. Now, he can bomb and gouge. So you would think that this Bethpage course is perfect for the dude. He won at Wingfoot, which is, I think, a very similar course. So you would think this would be perfect. And Keegan Bradley's got to decide, do I sit? And I don't even know what the world ranking is. It's all mixed up because of Liv, but he's one of the top 10 players in the world. I think we can all agree on that. Do you sit him in the foursome session and then bring him out of the bullpen like he's Ricky Vaughn in Major League and have the place go crazy for him? Because Bryson now is despite what Brandel Chambly said on Golf Channel, yes, he is a very, very popular player. And I think being on Liv, as much as I don't like Liv, I think that's made him more comfortable in his own skin. Like now he's high-fiving the crowds. He doesn't seem as aloof or anything. So I think if they bring him out of the bullpen, like for that 4-ball session on Friday, I think that place at Bethpage is going to go apeshit for this guy. And it's like, come on, Bryson, give him the heater, give him the big dog off the tee and just smoke it past. And, pair him with somebody against Rory and somebody and like let him see if he can get inside Rory's head as he's driving it past him. So that's going to be the decision for Bradley. It's like, man, I'm sitting a really top player in the foursomes, but who's the ideal partner for him? And that's what I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think Europe's interesting with this conversation because it's Rory. I think Rory's going 0-5, right? Like he is.
Oh, absolutely.
He is.
Absolutely.
He's the guy, right? Ryder Cup, Team Europe. I think he's going 0-5. I think Tommy Fleetwood probably does, given his form end this season. I think everybody else is a toss-up. So I know it was a longer conversation, but I think if you are looking at some of these props, that's the first question you got to ask yourself is really how much do you expect these guys to play? And I think both sides could end up doing this, but I think the USA is going to do more shuffling around than Europe is. Like you said, Wes, I think they've got a plan day one. I don't know why you'd change up anything there. And yeah, they might have to make some adjustments after that. I think USA could be trying to mix and match a little bit more.
It's to me, the thing with Bryson is, and the reason I would like roll him out from the get-go is to see how he's driving the ball. And because it is such an incredible weapon and this course is so long and it like favors driving distance so much that if he's just pounding it and he's hitting fairways and all that, like it is just such a huge advantage.
And you put him with like a Spawn or a Morikawa who are so damn good with wedges. You're gonna be very close, assuming he's keeping it in the fairway. So, that's the tough decision. It's like, how do you sit this guy out? Even though you think he's better at the 4-ball, like on his own ball, he's probably is better at that format because of this short sample size in the foursomes. But give him a really good iron player. And, we're they alternate, like they go off the tee too. Give him an iron player who can hit it pretty straight. Maybe that is Colin Morikawa. We will see how it is. I think, by the way, based on some of the press conferences we've been seeing, where Scotty kind of came to Bryson DeChambeau's defense a little bit as a good teammate, maybe you see them out in the afternoon sessions in the 4-ball together, which would be, that's a pretty darn formidable team, at least on paper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like
if you're watching at home and interested in these videos, by the way, like the Ryder Cup did such an awesome job on their YouTube page going hole by hole preview. I think one of the best ones I've ever seen. So go check it out. It's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of the statistical analysis.
Like looking here, just like strokes gained approach, just over the last 3 months, right? Like on the all rounds played over the last 3 months on the tour. In this field, and obviously Scotty, but the next is JJ Spawn, then you have Colin, then you have Ben Griffin. Like any of those dudes, like I mean, I know Bryson is maybe takes the right type of person to play with him or something, but it's kind of like, okay, you could throw a rookie out there with him who's like, I mean, Ben Griffin's just like living life right now, like what, I mean, again, he's been money with his irons, kind of like, and you mentioned JJ Spawn, who's been just completely money with his irons or something. Like, I don't know. I think that there could be I think there's a few different very interesting pairings for sure with Bryson that, I don't know. I'd rip him out there and just see, like, is the driver working? If the driver's working, then you are an asset at that point to the team for sure.
Yeah. I think it's very hard to sit him, I think, early on for Team USA, because you've got some guys that you probably are not going to play in the foursomes. Like, I don't think Ben Griffin's going out there in the foursomes. I think he's going out in the afternoon session for sure. Sam Burns, probably the same way. He goes out in the afternoon. Maybe he's paired with somebody like Cantlay in the best ball, whereas Cantlay and Schauffele are going to stay together, I think, in the alternate shot. And then he's going to have to probably, because you don't have enough combinations, one of these rookies, excluding Russell Henley, who we know is already going out likely with Scotty, one of these rookies is going to have to go out early and show you something. And I think it's either JJ Spawn or Cameron Young. one of those guys is going to have to go out there and prove it a little bit. And then you do have some guys that aren't rookies, but, not the most experienced, like a Sam Burns or somebody like that. So your veterans, because of that, like Kelley said, the middle tier, the Justin Thomases and the Patrick Cantlays and the Colin Morikawas, they got to produce. They can't have Scotty necessarily do it all by themselves, because Europe has such, I think, a depth and guys that have all proven it at some point. Not just even the top guys like the Rorys and the Fleetwoods. How about Justin Rose? Justin Rose has a hell of a Ryder Cup record. And, he's always kind of a mentor to the young guys. Tyrrell Hatton, solid Ryder Cup record. John Rahm, solid. The guy that doesn't have a solid one, by the way, is Matt Fitzpatrick. I looked at that when I was compiling the piece for VSiN.com. 1-7 in the Ryder Cup is Matt Fitzpatrick. He won one 4-ball match with Rory in Rome. I'm like, my God, that guy's too good of a player. So maybe that's a dark horse if you like low European captain's picks, because he's played too good a golf over the summer to, I think, just be absolute horrible in this event.
Oh, I think Fitz is a bit of a dark horse here for sure, Wes. Like I'm high on Fitz going into this. I'm high on Ludwig and Victor. Like I'm high on all three of those guys. I think they're ones I'm shopping around for. I might play over their points. Like I saw Caesars has Fitzpatrick over 1.5 points at -105. I think I'm going to bet that one. I haven't yet though. The one I'm going to run by you guys. It's not an exciting bet. Sorry, this is not going to be a 28 to 1 or anything like that. Let me figure out how to actually navigate my screens here. How does this one not get home? Rory McIlroy, even money, top 3 European point scorer. Like it's not sexy, but like he's going to be out there the most. He's going to have the most opportunities to get it. I'm kind of surprised Rahm is the favorite in this market. I mean, obviously it's 5 cents, not that big a deal, but I really like that one. I wouldn't hate anybody better than Tommy Fleetwood there either. I think Fleetwood's going to get a lot of run.
Also, I just look on your screen, and this has nothing to do with what you said, but like if you live in a DraftKings market, apparently they're going to give you a 50% profit boost on any Ryder Cup bet. So like you should take advantage of that. You should hit the opt-in.
I didn't even see that up top. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, hell, that's great. I mean, here's where the person's going to comment and go like, yeah, max wager $25. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, bet
it again.
Bet again. Yeah, bet it again. But this one gets you 50. Yeah, get you a 50% profit boost. I mean, like, no one says you only have to bet it once.
I went through the whole DraftKings menu. They got a lot of fun props up there. That was my favorite bet. So I did bet that.
I think that one is. I definitely think that one's interesting. I do believe what you said. But I think the 3 favorites are the 3 favorites, rightfully so, because I think those are the only 3 guys. I think those are the only 3 guys that have a chance of playing 5 times. Like I think those are the only 3 dudes that have a chance possibly at all. No, none of the other ones are. And so, basically you're a top 3 scorer, Kelley. I mean, like who can, even if Rahm plays 5 times too, I mean, like you still only have to have the top 3 performance out of Rahm.
Right. I don't need I don't need Europe to win. I don't need it to be all that. I think it could be a blowout, right? It's just a top 3 European score. So I really like that one. Just wanted to share because that's all I bet Europe and I bet that's all I've done so far.
And even if you think they're going to be behind a little bit, after the Saturday session or not Saturday session, the Friday session, then that's more urgency. Then it's like, well, I got to throw my best guys out there. It's not like I'm going to throw Rasmus Højgaard out there for 5 matches when I have all these guys ahead of him that are former major champions. So yeah, like I think Rory, Rahm went 4 last time. He could go 5. Him and Hatton will go both foursome sessions for sure, and he'll at least go 1 best ball session. So it all depends because I think these guys do like to get everybody out there on the first day because you've got to know. Like it reminded me of Zach Johnson in Rome, the USA captain, where it's like, you had to have known based on what you saw on Friday, maybe because you got to play everybody in singles. Maybe you can't throw Jordan Spieth out there because he was not very good. I hate to single him out. He was not very good in Rome. And you kind of knew that, okay, there might be some guys I got to double up and might be some guys I got to sit out. So there's no requirement for that in terms of how many matches. You could theoretically sit a guy out for the 4-ball and foursomes and just send out for Sunday singles as a sacrificial lamb. That has certainly happened before. It doesn't happen, though, very often, I think, anymore in the Ryder Cup because these teams are so deep and balanced.
So let's go ahead and get to, I mean, there's not much more. We've broken this down like top, up, down, left, and right. If you want like the intricacies of the course itself, Wes has his write up. And then also, like Kelley just said, I mean, the stuff on the line right now is phenomenal. I mean, it is so incredibly good. Like you'll be able to get all the ins and outs of that. Let's talk through some bets that we already have in, some bets that we like, some bets we're thinking about, because it's funny that Kelley kind of dug into that one that he was talking about, because I kind of dug into one that I thought was interesting as well with all that. But Wes, let's get to what's in your account, and then we'll talk through some other stuff that could possibly end up in the account.
Yeah, and I'm going to have more stuff throughout the week at VSiN.com, and as obviously we get the individual matches, certainly be betting those throughout the weekend. But one prop I did play, and it is a favorite, even though it's plus money. I played Patrick Cantlay 3-1, and it might be designated as top wild card. What that also means is top captain's pick point scorer. And if you want to go for everybody, it's plus 650. Now that includes the European team, but if you just want to narrow it to Team USA, 3-1. And a couple reasons here. Number one, he's got the best overall record on the American team. And even though he doesn't really give much in terms of like outward expressive emotion, he's a fierce competitor. And I think he's going to play with something to prove, because if you remember last time out in Rome, he was kind of seen or portrayed maybe in the media. I don't know how accurate that is, but he was seen a little bit as a negative influence on the team because he and Xander Schauffele apparently talked about the issue that players should be compensated for participating in the Ryder Cup and all of that. And then, there was the time he didn't wear the hat. And, so that was Hatgate. And that's when, remember Joe LaCava waving the hat at Rory McIlroy, and then they got into it in the parking area at the club there in Rome. So
Country
Patrick
club
Cantlay, yeah, absolutely. Don't you love him? It was just so funny. All these other guys are like, what the hell is going on here? Let's just go back to the team room. Like, okay. But yeah, you got Rory certainly fired up. But I think Patrick Cantlay will be fired up in his maybe less demonstrative way, because he doesn't really give you a lot. But yeah, he's got a little something to prove, because I think, he was portrayed in a bad light. And we know he's kind of an annoyance anyway with how slow he plays. Now, being at home, that's probably going to help him, because even the drunk fans at Bethpage Black are probably not going to get on him. They're going to be under their breath going, come on, hit the damn ball, come on. But they're not going to scream it out there. So I think Patrick Cantlay will function much better at home. He'll be with Xander. They have some redemption, losing both foursome matches in Rome. So Patrick Cantlay, 3-1, top wild card, captain's pick for Team USA. And then I did bet Europe to lift the trophy at plus 125. I think it gives a little tie insurance. 11 of the 12 are back from that victorious team. And I think the course setup, what I mentioned earlier, what I was talking about with the Billy Horschel tweet, it's a little bit lessened, because the European team plays predominantly stateside for the majority of the calendar year. And then you look at the Americans, and probably maybe a couple more bombers on that side. But, oh, by the way, Rory McIlroy can hit it really, really long off the tee. And so can Højgaard. And so can Jon Rahm. And so can Ludwig. And so can Victor. And so can, what's his name? Robert McIntyre. So they've got plenty of length, I think, on that side. Maybe not top to bottom as much as the Americans, but they certainly are not overwhelmed in the power advantage.
Kelley Bidlin, what's in your account so far?
Just the two that I have talked about, and I'm bringing up some of the total points ones too. Europe plus 180 at Circa. I like it at plus 170. And that's widely available. DraftKings, MGM, all have that price. I saw. I'm going to play the three-way market. Whatever. If I get burnt by a tie, fine. But I'd rather take the bigger price on Europe. And then that Rory top 3 European point scorer I played. I will tell you others that I am considering. I'm waiting to see if more of these Vegas books are going to open up some of these point props or not. I won't bet all of these, but I am high on Hovland, Ludwig, and Fitz on the European side. So it would be overs or nothing on their total points. They're all like 1.5 to 2. I found a 1.5 on Fitzpatrick here in town. I think I'm going to play that. I think Hovland and Ludwig are both 2s, and they're kind of juicy 2s to the over. But kind of like all those, Wes, I completely hear you on Cantlay. Matt, I don't know how you're thinking. I would go the other way if anything on him. I know the history does not back me up at all on that. I don't know. I don't know if I really trust his game is that much better than some of the other options on there right now. So honestly, like I'd be looking at the underprice on it. Is under 2 is at -105 on Caesars. I mean, that's still like you could go out in 2 of the 5 and win. I push even if he doesn't do better than that. So that's what I kind of got my eye on. And then Morikawa and JT unders I'm considering too.
Yeah, see, I actually see this, I think, completely different than both of y'all. I'm betting on I'm betting on the upside of the US team. And I understand that I understand that there's, I mean, it's still betting on the come essentially, but I think the upside for the US team is much higher than on the European team. And I also like the fact that when you go out in singles, right? Like there are dudes on the US team that can go low in a single round, and that's all we have to worry about, right? Like we're not worried about them finishing and doing, like Sam Burns is one of the very best go low dudes on the planet. We saw him have success in the match play championship. Also, we have seen Justin Thomas this year go low in first rounds and second rounds and stuff multiple times, 7 unders, 8 unders, 9 unders, things like that. You're not going to get that at Bethpage, but you get my point, right? Like these are dudes that are birdie makers, and we don't need them to do it for 4 straight rounds, right? Like what was our problem with Cam Young forever? He could go out and he could light up a course, but he just couldn't finish, right? Like there's all these things with a lot of the guys on the American side that you don't really get from the Euro side. You get those dudes are kind of like more grinders, attrition. It's the 4 under, 4 under, 4 under, 4 under, right? And then they win the tournament at 16 under. But like, I'll put it this way. If you're lining up on the tee against Sepp Straka or Matt Fitzpatrick or Shane Lowry or any, like none of our dudes are going to be intimidated by those guys like at all. Right. I mean, like there's no, like you're not worried at all about those guys in the least bit. Right. I mean, and so it's to me, I kind of look at this and think that the US team gets this done. And I think the crowd helps out a decent amount as well. I know we're probably going to be rolling our eyes at some point because there's going to be moments where we're going, come on guys, like really, like don't do that. But I think there will be moments with that where, do you get under some of these guys' skin? Do you say something and do something and all of that? And it's unfortunate part of it all, but I think it needs to be part of the handicap, right? I mean, it's going to be a drunk New York crowd like screaming at these guys like every single time they go to hit the ball, and like, I mean, that's real, and so I like the US, and I know that I'm in the minority here. I know most of the people in the golf world do like the European side of this, but I'm betting on the upside of the US. And
so what are you betting pre-tournament here?
So I took the US before it got a little bit like 140 or something like that. I think it was. So, okay. So 140 on the US, and then Kelley, if you pull up DraftKings again, and I think this kind of this market can kind of continue our discussion, which I think we're all saying the same thing with the same bet. So if you go into event props, yeah, and then click top wild card point scorer right there. So if we think that Rahm and Cantlay are the only two that have a chance of possibly playing 5 times, and even then maybe they don't, we can bet both of these guys and still make money if either one of them are the top wild card point scorer. I think the dark horse in this is Justin Thomas. Again, like I think Justin Thomas it has Keegan's kind of trust in all of this, being a longtime veteran, being around for so long, kind of being a leader in amongst all of those dudes and everything. I think Justin Thomas might end up playing more than we think too. I think he's an interesting wild card at 9-1 for this market, but I kind of really wanted to hone in on Rahm and Cantlay and see what y'all thought, because you could play both, and then if either one of them hits, you make money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I think your handicap spot on. I mean, they have a good chance. I would personally I like your Justin Thomas angle. For me, it's when I pulled this up, it was looking at a Ludwig, Hovland. Like, does one of those guys get hot and end up going 4 sessions, right? Like, I think they're going to go out together day one. I like that pairing together. That's kind of where I was looking at in this market, but I get it. I get it with Rahm and Cantlay. Like, I know I'm like the anti-Cantlay guy here, but again, the most important thing about the handicapping, almost all this stuff before, is how many sessions do you think they could play? So I can't argue with your handicap there.
That is why with Cantlay, because I think he's going to play more than Ben Griffin. I think he's going to probably play more than Sam Burns. Maybe Cameron Young is going to have a big Ryder Cup here, but I think he's going to play more than most of those captains pissed, because keep in mind, Xander was an automatic qualifier. So, he's going to play more. It's him or Justin Thomas that I think get the bulk, because I still don't know where Morikawa is right now.
Yeah,
and maybe he can surprise, but he's been a little bit erratic for me. So that's why I went with Cantlay. And plus, I think that just having that, something to prove from last time out, where his image certainly really took a beating. I think after that Ryder Cup, for whatever his image was going into that.
I actually think from what I'm hearing from Wes, Matt, like I would, if I was Wes, I would definitely be betting this the way you're talking about. Because he's much higher on Cantlay, right? I'm lower on Cantlay.
Yeah.
So I think this is that makes sense why I would not be interested in it. But I think if you can include Rahm here and then you just take these two down, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, just something again. For people to look in there's, like you said, Kelley. I know it's only one tournament and it's like real, but there's like a lot of different markets, and so it's kind of like tell your story, and you can tell your story through a lot of these bets, right? Like if you think X player is going to get more playing time, and you think that X player has some upside and whatever, like there's a way to bet that. I mean, like they've given you some sort of way to go in and take advantage of your convictions, and do all of that. But
I think the other one I would just add is okay, we do a golf podcast. Like we think we've got an idea about some of what these pairings are going to look like. They're baked. A lot of these are baked into the market, right? Like Henley's awesome. I don't know if he deserves to be plus 180 and 70 cents better than everybody else, like in this top debutante scorer market, right? But he's probably going to get, 1 or 2 goes with Scheffler, right? It's like all that stuff's kind of baked in these prices. I know, I think there's a lot of people probably scratching their head at Hatton prices this week. I don't think Hatton's going to be horrible, but he's going to be playing with Rahm. He's probably going to scoop up an extra point or something.
Who do you? Okay, let's say so. We're pretty sure Scotty and Russell Henley are going to be paired up. We're pretty sure that Rahm and Hatton are going to be paired up. If those guys go, if they go head to head, who's the favorite in your opinion?
Go ahead, Wes.
I think that, you got to base it too. They did have some President's Cup time together. I think Scotty and Russell Henley are a small favorite. And I think that could, by the way, be the first match. Rahm and Hatton were the first team out last time out. We'll see if they are this time, because both of those guys, even though they go very well together, they play a lot together. They're on that same live for the team format, whatever, Legion of Doom, whatever their team is called. But they play together. But they are kind of irascible personalities that can be hotheads. So is the crowd going to get to them really early?
Right.
So maybe Luke Donald does he send them out, or does he put them anchor? Because I don't think he wants to put Rory and Tommy out first. I think he likes them as the anchor. Because, Rory, he's like the most popular European player, but he's also the heel this time around. So Rory's going to get his fair share of crap from this audience, even though a lot of those fans probably like him and love him when he's playing in tournament play. And, because Rory talks and has done a little bit of talking leading up to this. So I'm going to be interested to see who he sends out first. I think it's Rahm and Hatton. I think Scotty and Henley, because it's Scotty, would be very small favorites, like maybe like minus 115, minus 105 here.
I'm with you. I think it's like, one of the teams has Scotty Scheffler and the other one doesn't, then I think that team has to be the favorite. To me, it's just Scotty Scheffler again has proven every single freaking week that he goes out there, that he he never has a bad tournament ever. He never has a bad tournament. Like and I don't expect it to happen here either. So what was
the example again? Scheffler and Henley versus
Rahm Hatton. Yeah.
Oh, I think Scheffler and Henley are. I think they're steeper than 115. I think you're talking 125, 130. Or
maybe I'm giving Rahm and Hatton too much respect, but they were so damn good, because they play together so often, and on Live when you've got 50 players in the field and you're on the team format. Rahm and Hatton, by the way, beat Scheffler and Burns 4-3 in the opening match last year. And then they were the anchor, and they beat Schauffele and Cantlay 2-1 on Saturday. So, these are matches. And plus, I think with Scotty, now keep in mind, Scotty, this was, I believe, the first match, the foursomes match, where he played with Brooks. He didn't play the second session, neither did Brooks. And you know why they didn't play? Because they got beat 9-7 by Ludwig and Victor. In the foursomes, that's the all-time record, by the way, in the Ryder Cup. I don't expect that to happen again, but Scotty, as great as he is, and he gets I think the good tax, still has a little bit to prove in the Ryder Cup. Still hadn't had that great Ryder Cup that eventually he's going to have. Maybe it's going to be this week.
I'll tell you one other. Wes, you talked a little bit about the whole golf ball thing at the top. One of the other kind of, and I'll call it a conspiracy theory, just because it is a conspiracy theory, but.
Nice.
So Bryson and Cam Young both played like the left dash Pro V1Xs from Tidal. So like it's a very specific ball, right? It is it's a low spin, like low spin long iron, whatever, that guys that hit it super far off the tee. It's great. It's like, it's been one of the longest balls forever and all of that. They do all these ball tests. It's one of the longest balls, and has been for so incredibly long, but it's a very specific and kind of nuanced ball as well. They both play that ball. Like, what if they rolled out Bryson and Cam Young, like two bombers, just two dudes just out there just cranking it to hell and back? That could be
especially in the afternoon in the 4-ball.
Yeah.
Where these guys are
just by it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, but these guys are just bombing it all over the place and just making birdie after birdie and having these short wedges on even a super long course, and that could be intimidating to maybe a team if you have like shorter hitters on the team, like if it's Lowry and I don't know, Straka or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would be interesting. But it was just, that was one of the things that I read, and I'm kind of like, that would at least be interesting. I'll put it this way. I would like to see it. It's like as a fan, as a spectator, like I would like to see it.
No, I read that too, Matt. I think the ball thing alone makes sense, right? It's just, I'm not saying it's the number one reason you would pair those guys together for some play, right? But like, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, it's just, if they're very comfortable with a different ball than most, then it totally makes sense.
Well, because the deal is like whoever plays with Bryson's going to have to play with his ball, because his whole weapon is the driving distance. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you like his whole, if you take that away, then you take away like his biggest weapon. His biggest weapon is he hits it 30 yards further than everybody, And so that's, I don't know, just interesting stuff as we kind of get it all around. But as we said, guys, this is just super fun. Dig in very, very hard to these markets. Like I said, my dark horse is Justin Thomas. I have some bets on Justin Thomas just to kind of be, like I said, the wild card point scorer, U.S. point scorer, all the different things like that. This is totally no inside information. I haven't read anything. I think he's going to get more playing time than, I don't know, maybe even deserves, but just kind of the been there, done that, old vet, been around, has a bunch of upside, all of that type of stuff. Like I've got the Justin Thomas bets all over the place in the
So I might not be very high on Cantlay, Morikawa, JT, right? I might not be very high on all three. I very much agree with you though, Matt, that this is like, and I don't even know which one you said earlier. I think Keegan taking this job over. He's done everything the right way so far. He's going to give those stalwarts a chance, right? Like it is he's going to give him a good look, I think, early in those first couple, that first day, those first couple rounds there, and then see what they got. They're playing. I think he rides a hot hand. So I think they're going to get a look. I think you said it, Wes. I think he's going to run through everybody on the first day to kind of get that feel. But it's, sure. If JT, Morikawa show up and look great, I think Keegan is probably going to end up sticking with those guys further down through the event. Then risk it a little bit more with a Ben Griffin or JJ Spawn, even though I think those guys could play great.
All right, boys, if you haven't done so already, please appreciate you guys hitting that subscribe button. If you're over on the YouTube page, hello, this is what we look like. Appreciate that. The background will be
boys
better
next
time. I promise you, like whatever. Yeah, boys and girls. Fellas, I should say. Everyone's a fella.
Everybody's
like,
a
you
fella.
can get by with saying fellas.
Yeah.
You can get by with saying fellas out there. So do appreciate you guys showing the support for all of this. We will be back for tournaments throughout the fall. Going to go with the bigger ones that we know you might be interested in betting. If it's something we don't think that anyone has any interest in, then we will not waste your time here on the download. But we'll certainly be back several times throughout the course of the fall with some of these tournaments and give you our thoughts on all of those. Head over to VSiN.com right now. You can get started for as little as $9.99 in VSiN Pro subscription. You can get Wes's articles. You can get his daily picks and all the other sports and everything like that as well. And, of course, all of the picks from the hosts and the guests over there on the picks page. Again, as little as $9.99 for your first month over there for that. For Wes, for Kelley, I am Matt. Good luck on all your Ryder Cup bets.
You're killing me, Bidlin.
Oh, man, there it is. Where's I had the mute on.
I had the mute on. Videos were giving me problems. I actually did an amazing job.
Let's not score a single point.